Battletech enthusiasts. This is another installation of my tabletop painting, strategy, tactics, etc. series. First, I'm going to show you a real Marauder here. You can see that it's quite costly, so buying Marauders is expensive. Here's a side view. This is actually a Marauder 2, just so you know. Later I'll show you a Marauder 1. And check out these details. You can go back to these as a reference picture. I'll also have another variant later. And study the level of surface textures, etc., because this is how you see if it's a real one. It's part of the details. And look at the back of the engine nacelles specifically. You'll see those also on fakes. Now, this one is a fake being sold by a highly reliable seller that I have bought many mechs from in the past, and unfortunately, he seems to be selling a fake. I'll hide the name so that the party is protected. But how can you tell that this is a fake? Well, first, take a look at these whiskers. They're a little thicker than they should be, and you also notice that the drill job is kind of bad. Also, the base, if you look at it, it doesn't have sharp, slanted faces like on the far right side. That facet has some warpage to it, and this is a classic sign of a recast. Also, look at these bumps on the wings. These are part of the failure in the mold. And these drill holes here, or these little vents or whatever they are, they're kind of uneven looking. These are also parts of the failure of the mold. Now, this is another real Marauder. This one is, the person is claiming it is. And it's I think it's a pewter that is non-lead version. Probably from the late 80s, not the mid 80s. And it looks like it's in pretty good shape, but just again, study the surface texture and the features. This is a perfectly legitimate, perfectly good Marauder. If you flip back to that previous red, the previous Marauder, you'll notice that the patterns of details are a little different, although that was a Marauder 2, this is a Marauder 1. But nevertheless, you can see the style of the surface is different. Now, this is actually a legitimate Marauder. Now, the seller is thinking it's a Marauder 2C, but it's actually a Marauder 1. And it may be a Battledroid's Marauder. But this is a legitimate one. And you can see that the circles here are well done and have a high detail. The prints of the weapons pods are also in high detail. And these whiskers, someone has added these whiskers, but these are in high detail. I guess this probably came from a blue blister pack because those tended to have little thin wires of that sort. And also look at the base. The facets are sharp and not distorted. Now, this one is a Robotech Tactics recast. And those thick antennas are actually part of the recast. And also the gun looks different and the arms look different, etc. But this is just an interesting thing. These are inexpensive. Yeah. And so that's an option.
And this here is another Marauder. This is a pretty nice one. It claims it's a second version or second print. It probably is. It looks similar to the one that I have. I have a gray one. And so this one is a good Marauder. Except I'm jealous because my gray one is missing its top gun, whereas this one has it. So this one has the AC5. Here again, you can see, too bad the resolution of the picture is not very high. The seller just took these kind of crummy pictures and then posted it. I mean, this is otherwise obviously a pretty nice one. And then they took a lot of pictures, but for some reason just have a grainy photo, the top view here. clearly very high quality, nice condition, and I wish the best to them selling it. This is a Robotech officer pod. Some people try to use these as Marauders because they're economically more acquirable. This is one of the reimagined, reseen versions. I don't like these particular prints, and evidently many others didn't, because the various other versions, the Mech Warrior Online versions and whatnot, have shown up as a Marauder 2. This is another reimagined Iron Wind. I think one of these are like the Project Phoenix style Marauders. I don't like these as either. I like the old ones. This is a original Clan 2, Marauder 2 Clan, except unfortunately it's not fully assembled, so you don't get this full view, but this is a legit, it's not, I don't think it's as valuable as a Inner Sphere Marauder. And here's another version which is fully assembled. Again, these are not as valuable as Inner Sphere Marauders because that's the iconic one. And here's the new plastic ones for the various new versions of Battletech that keep coming out. This is yet another one of these reimagined, reseen versions. I don't think this one was very popular. Again, here's another version. These are all legitimate Marauders. It's just that they're not going to be worth anything because the reimagined and reseen Marauders are like investing in Ethereum instead of Bitcoin. Sure, it'll seem fancy and schmancy for the moment, but inevitably it'll kind of become kind of a second tier, and the original Bitcoin or the original Alpha or Beta Magic Black Lotus cards, those are the ones that keep their value because they have a collector value, whereas the other ones are only good temporarily while it's new. And that's just how it works. Basically, any version that's the newest shiny one will look good for a few years, and then it'll become useless because another new shiny one will show up. But the oldest originals will keep their value and will become increasingly ridiculously rare and sought after, and people with excess money to throw away, or the kinds who will buy these kinds of things, will still be able to afford them, which means the prices will just shoot through the roof. But anyway, I just want to kind of help identify. Here's like a pin back button. This kind of shows you the original concept of the Marauder. This one's like a giant scale if you want to play with like minifigures or something. And here's like someone's custom variant of a Marauder. I mean, these are all legit. It's just heavily customized, which means it's going to be worthless because you want the originals unmodified as much as possible. I mean, based and painted is okay, but mint is the best. Like untouched, still in the blister. Here's like the latest, now the art that shows up on the wiki. These are to try to avoid having the old art that's unseen, so they've put some of the latest respins on. Here's the original Robotech officer pod. Again, people trying to use these as Battletech mechs, which might sort of work. This is a good one. This is one that I like. These are I think this is an actual Battledroids version. This is similar to the one I have. And here's another one. I think this is also a Battledroids version. It's similar to the one I have, except without the Top Gun, the AC-5. And here, just for show, I'm showing off this. Someone made this clever rifleman with a pin that allows the hip to rotate. It's not really related to Marauders, but it's from the same era. This one looks like a legit original. It's just been mechanically modified. Just wanted to show it off, or just show off a picture of it, just to show that people do these kinds of things to these older mechs. I'm not sure if this improves or actually degrades the value of the mech as a collector's item. I think it actually degrades it, so it's better to not modify them as much as possible and keep them in the original untouched mode. And I'll close off here with my own personal pride of my collection, my two Marauders. I've got one Marauder 1, which I believe is actually a Battledroids version, and then a Marauder 2.